Walmart shares closing the day in the red, off just over 2%. The retail giant posting better than expected results, and one of the main driver was grocery sales. And it has been a busy week here in that area of the retail space. Aldi acquiring 400 Winn-Dixie and Harvey's supermarket stores, which will expand Aldi's growing U.S. footprint into the South. It also comes as two other grocers face more headwinds in their mergers deal. Kroger's and Albertsons, 7 states calling on U.S. antitrust officials to block the nearly $25 billion tie-up, claiming that it's going to hurt Americans. Joining me now is Burt Flickinger, Strategic Resource Group Managing Director. Burt, it's great to see you again. So let's first start with what we heard from Walmart this morning, because this massive push that the company is doing in the grocery business, as it stands right now, controls nearly a quarter of the grocery market here in the U.S. Is anything going to stop Walmart's momentum in the grocery business?
Shauna, you're completely correct. Walmart's momentum is unstoppable. And as you referenced, Walmart has the highest grocery sales and the highest grocery market share in the 200-year history of supermarkets and food retailers across America. Amazon's growing as well. And Walmart is site-saturated the South, where Aldi's going in after buying Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie, as you reported well with Diane, Winn-Dixie had filed for bankruptcy twice. Anthony Hucker came in, brilliantly turned around Winn-Dixie. But Aldi's going into the Southeast in key states, especially in the Gulf Coast region, where Walmart's wiped out, in many cases, the number 1, 2, and 3 ranked supermarket chains: Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, et cetera.
So, Burt, where does that leave the smaller rivals? Are we going to see more bankruptcies, more store closures, because they simply cannot compete with the much larger players?
Shauna, and you referenced it well earlier, there's a real need for Kroger and Albertsons to combine to be the first true supermarket chain to have the size and the scale to compete with Walmart, Costco, Aldi, Amazon, which between the 4 of them control over half the sales. And Walmart is significantly ahead of Kroger and Albertsons at this point. Also, Kroger and Albertsons share their private label manufacturing capacity with other independently owned chains, family-owned and operated chains, co-ops. My Flickinger family forefathers and relatives co-founded IGA, founded Red and White, founded Federated Foods through Revco, which they also co-founded, started Trader Joe's. And the National Grocers Association is made up of many of these independents, which will benefit. And in fact, in the state of Minnesota, which is opposing this deal, where we've worked closely with the unions, closely with the chains, closely with the independents, before Kroger bought Roundy's out of Wisconsin and Illinois, Rainbow Foods, which was owned by Roundy's, went bankrupt and liquidated in Minnesota. That would have never happened had Kroger come in earlier and bought Rainbow stores and had not let the prior owner run them into bankruptcy. So Kroger Albertsons is pro-consumer, pro-worker, pro-supplier, pro-community. And a lot of those shopping centers that Kroger and Albertsons saves, Shauna, pay the school taxes for the public school education in just about every state across America. So it's good for the competition. It'll lower prices. Kroger's lowered prices $5 billion in the last 20 years and has increased middle-class workers' living standards by having over 110,000 union employees, where many of the other unionized employers and unions have contracted. And the unions in the supermarket sector have lost over 150,000 jobs in a study we recently completed at Strategic Resource Group with the help of Cornell Industrial and Labor Relations and the U.S. Department of Labor. So it's good all the way around, and happy to testify and for any of the state AGs, the Federal Trade Commission, as we've done frequently in the past.
So, Burt, I called the National Grocers Association the other day just to get their perspective, and they take the other side of it. Obviously, no surprise there. But they're arguing, though, that this is going, if we do see Kroger and Albertsons deal go through, that it is going to increase anti-competitive buyer power over some of those suppliers, which is eventually then going to harm consumers. You don't see any risk of that?
No, Shauna, because I, in fact, work for a number of the independents and co-ops that supply the chains that are and family-owned and operated and single-store in independents. And those chains were discriminated against by the national brand manufacturers the same way Kroger and Albertsons was during the COVID pandemic, while the supercenter and wholesale club operators were getting just about everything that those respective food retail competitors had ordered. So, and I know from our extensive work in private label manufacturing and sourcing that everybody benefits from supermarket sector sharing sourcing from the farms to the food warehouses, to the food manufacturers, to the food stores. And there's some unique members of the National Grocers Association that are raising some concerns, but at the same time, SM Flickinger Company created over 10,000 independents in the U.S. and Canada between IGA and Red and White, and being very close to those independents. It's very pro-independent for Kroger and Albertsons to combine rather than just let Walmart, Costco, and Amazon steamroll across America and crush independent and chain and co-op food retailers in the process.
So, Bert, the odds that this deal is going to get FTC approval, what do you think?
I think the FTC is very enlightened. It's had no enforcement, in my professional view, in prior FTC regimes in terms of anti-competitive practices and predatory pricing. And to your good point, Shauna, buying practices which are brutal in the case of Walmart and in the case of Costco. Bob Ortega and Stephen Greenhouse, in the respective books coming out of the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, have brilliantly written how Walmart's destroyed a lot of American manufacturers through their brutal buying practices in the past. Doug McMillon, the current CEO, is very enlightened and very magnanimous, but historically, Walmart's had a checkered past. So it's better to have at least a supermarket chain with national clout, and Kroger and Albertsons support local vendors from Paul's Chicken and Boise, Idaho, to Grater's Ice Cream in Ohio, to Murray's Cheese out of Greenwich Village in New York. And my great-grandfather started when Barney Kroger had one store and Joe Albertson had one store. They all worked together to help independents, and they'll continue to do so.
We, of course, will continue to track this story. Bert Flickinger, always great to get your perspective. Thanks.